Hello, I am Jason Swan with DB Services, and today we are going to go over some pointers for upgrading from Salesforce's Nonprofit Success Pack to the Nonprofit Cloud. The Nonprofit Success Pack is a long-standing package that helps nonprofit organizations handle their CRM data for aspects like fundraising, program management, and outcome management. Nothing is stopping you from continuing to use the Nonprofit Success Pack, but Salesforce encourages you to transition to the Nonprofit Cloud. The Nonprofit Cloud shares many similarities with the Nonprofit Success Pack, but there are some key differences that we will go over to make your upgrade a piece of cake. Before we consider other aspects of the upgrade, we need to set up the Nonprofit Cloud org. Salesforce has provided many documents that list everything you need to do for your new Nonprofit Cloud. I have linked this particular setup document in the article, so please review it. This is one of the first things you should do for your upgrade. Completing prerequisites and enabling features, such as enabling person accounts and setting up program management, will reduce the number of issues you may face when you start migrating your data into the Nonprofit Cloud. Your data will not always have a one-to-one fit with the data structure in the Nonprofit Cloud. On top of setting up your Nonprofit Cloud org, one of the first things you should do is determine what data you want to keep with the upgrade. Salesforce has a hefty document that lists everything you need to know for upgrading from the Nonprofit Success Pack to the Nonprofit Cloud. This is useful for determining which fields can be directly mapped into your new org. Now is also a good time to determine which fields are going to take work to mesh into the new org. You should also consider the data or processes that may no longer be necessary for the Nonprofit Cloud. Removing old data and components, or updating them to work with the Nonprofit Cloud's data model, can help you avoid issues in the future once you get the new org up and running. Once you have determined what records you want to migrate into the new org, you will need a method to export, transform, and import the records. There are plenty of tools out there for this. One such method is Salesforce's Data Loader. The data loader lets you export records based on a SQL query that you define. This will give you a CSV where you can perform the appropriate transformations on the data to work with the Nonprofit Cloud. Then, you'll be able to import the data into your new org. Another useful tool is the Salesforce Inspector, which I'm showing right now. The Salesforce Inspector is a Chrome extension for Salesforce that offers a lot of utility, like importing and exporting records. Once you define a SQL query, you receive an Excel formatted list of records. When uploading your records to the new org, the Salesforce Inspector will show which records succeeded or failed and let you retry failed uploads. While very useful, there are plenty of other methods to migrate your records. Do some exploration and consider which migration method works best for you. On top of there being plenty of tools for migrating records, there are plenty of tools for migrating your components and metadata. A very solid option to migrate these components is the Salesforce Pack in VS Code. Once you've connected your org to the project instance in VS Code, you'll be able to retrieve just about every component from your org. Consider the processes and layouts you have set up and all the metadata that they need. This can be flows, email templates, Apex, Lightning Web Components, reports, and more. Once you have the components in your project instance, this is a great opportunity to review and update them to work in the Nonprofit Cloud. Do keep in mind that some of your components will not have an easy one-to-one transfer to the Nonprofit Cloud. Take the time to consider what updates can be made to your components, as well as what processes can be removed or improved. Once you made the appropriate changes, you can connect your project instance to the new org and start deploying the components there. I think it is important to go over some of the differences between the Nonprofit Success Pack and the Nonprofit Cloud. I strongly recommend reading the migration document for a deeper understanding of the differences, but I will go over some that caught my eye. For starters, the Nonprofit Cloud shifts accounts from the household model to the person model. Instead of accounts representing a household with contacts representing individuals in the household, the person model has accounts representing a single individual. Migrating your accounts and contacts is going to require more work if you want to maintain relationships between individuals and organizations. The Nonprofit Cloud features party role relationship records that can maintain these relationships. Party role relationships are similar to affiliation records in the Nonprofit Success Pack, but they can be used to show account-to-account relationships, account-to-contact relationships, as well as contact-to-contact relationships. Consider the types of relationships you want to see between your persons and organizations before migrating the data. This will help you determine what relationship records need to be generated once your data is in the new org. If you are familiar with the Nonprofit Success Pack, you may have heard of the address object and the volunteers for Salesforce app. Both of these are not in the Nonprofit Cloud, so you will have to make adjustments for your migration. Since the address object in the Nonprofit Success Pack was used to track multiple seasonal addresses for households, you should identify the primary address for your contacts. If you are using the Volunteers for Salesforce app to track your volunteering programs, shifts, and events, you may have to consider other methods of volunteer management in the Nonprofit Cloud. Consider browsing the App Exchange Marketplace for ready-built solutions, or consider building a custom process for tracking your volunteer data. The opportunity object is generally used to track deals in progress and saw a lot of use for donations and fundraising in the Nonprofit Success Pack. While you can still use the opportunity to track major gifts, you should consider the collection of gift objects included in the Nonprofit Cloud. The gift designation object represents funds designated for a specific purpose. Gift commitments represent the promise of a donation for a future date. These commitments can be one-time, recurring, or multiple payments made over time. Gift transactions represent the installments made towards a gift commitment. We recommend reading through the migration document for a full understanding of these new objects, as well as what updates can be made to your opportunities to mesh into this new model. Program management is a tool that can be found in the Nonprofit Success Pack as well as the Nonprofit Cloud. Since they share similar objects in both environments, this will help with migrating. However, there are still some differences to consider. For instance, the benefit object in the Nonprofit Cloud has more fields than its counterpart, the services object, in the Nonprofit Success Pack. Furthermore, the program cohort object does not have a counterpart in the Nonprofit Cloud, so you may have to consider a custom solution if you want to maintain the cohorts in your programs. Case management also has a lot of similarities between the Nonprofit Success Pack and the Nonprofit Cloud. While both environments start the case management process with a referral object, the Nonprofit Cloud uses this referral to generate a case record. From here, the case manager would put together a care plan and then assign the participant to programs. The Nonprofit Success Pack takes the referral object and assigns the individual to programs while tracking their goals with a case plan. These processes sound very similar between the two environments, but they should be paid attention to so that you do not mistakenly migrate a set of data as the wrong type of records. Since you are upgrading from the Nonprofit Success Pack to the Nonprofit Cloud, this is a good time to consider other aspects of your org that should be upgraded alongside the migration. Older features, like workflows and processes, should be converted to flows before you migrate them to the Nonprofit Cloud. Salesforce includes a conversion button that makes this process quick and easy. After letting you know what changes need to be made for the conversion, you can create and activate the flow of your process and workflows. I recommend testing the flows to make sure they do not lose any functionality. After determining that the flows are still working properly, they can then be easily migrated to the nonprofit org using VS Code. Page layouts are a standard and solid method for displaying information about your records, but they are not the end-all be-all for displaying information. If you have not worked with them before, I recommend creating Lightning pages to display your records. On top of being built from your page layouts, the Lightning page has greater flexibility when customizing your view. With drag and drop controls, you can easily add related lists, Lightning web components, and other useful features to your record pages. Additionally, Lightning pages can dynamically hide certain fields based on record data, letting you control who sees what based on the record or the user looking at it. Once you have all your records and components exported, you will need an environment to import them. It may be tempting to import them directly into your Nonprofit Cloud production environment, but that's not recommended. If there is an issue with the data or components, it is much easier to resolve it before you deploy it. You should create a sandbox to deploy your data into first. This will give you an opportunity to test your data in the nonprofit cloud environment without affecting your real data in production. Once everything looks good in your sandbox, you can rest easy knowing that you won't be breaking anything in your production environment. Upgrading from the Nonprofit Success Pack to the Nonprofit Cloud can be a daunting task, but I hope this video has given you some ideas of what you can do to make the migration less of a headache. Remember to read the migration documentation as well, as it is very robust and detailed. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about migrating your org, feel free to contact us at dbservices.com.